The US spent $1 trillion on the war on drugs. Overdose deaths hit a record 108,000 last year. And Oregon decriminalized in 2020, then rolled it back in 2024 after the streets visibly got worse. So is legalizing all drugs the answer or the next failure? 5 minutes, both sides. What the data, not the tribe, actually says, and a verdict that's going to upset every drug policy partisan you know. Chapter 1. The case for because prohibition created the cartels, not the addiction, and the receipts are everywhere. Start with the scoreboard. 50 years of drug war. $1 trillion spent, 50 million arrests, and addiction rates flat. Overdose deaths at record highs. Every metric we said this would fix got worse. The strategy lost. Now, look at Portugal. Decriminalized all drugs in 2001. Drug deaths halved. HIV infections from injection fell 90%. Treatment enrollment doubled. 23 years of data, and the model still holds. The experiment worked. Black markets create violence, not the drugs. Prohibition handed $30 billion a year to cartels. Mexico saw 300,000 homicides since the drug war escalated. The street violence in U.S. cities has the same root cause. And the racial cost. Black and white Americans use cannabis at identical rates. Black Americans are arrested for it 3.6 times more often. Mass incarceration didn't end drugs, it just decided who got cages for them. Chapter 2. The case against. Because fentanyl isn't weed and pretending otherwise has a body count. First, the brutal physics. A lethal dose of alcohol is several drinks. Heroin, 25 milligrams. Fentanyl, 2 milligrams. That's the weight of 2 grains of salt. There is no responsible use parallel for a drug that lethal. Oregon tried full decriminalization in 2020. By 2024, and they rolled it back. Overdose deaths rose 42%. Public consumption visible everywhere. The treatment infrastructure they promised never materialized. The experiment failed in real time. Addiction prevalence scales with availability. Alcohol is legal, and 95,000 Americans die from it each year. 29 million are dependent. Make every drug equally available without similar infrastructure, and the math doesn't get better. And the cost lands on the most vulnerable, kids, people with untreated mental illness, people in poverty. When supply explodes, they bear the harm first. Personal liberty arguments rarely center on the populations that absorb the externality. And here's the conflation that costs lives. Legalizing everything isn't the same policy as decriminalizing plus treating. They look alike on Twitter. They produce wildly different outcomes. The Oregon failure was the first, it won't be the last. Chapter 3. What actually changed? Because the drug policy of 1995 was designed for drugs that don't dominate the market anymore. The fentanyl shock, synthesized in labs, not grown in fields, 50 times more potent than heroin, sneaks into the supply of every other street drug, including counterfeit pills. Overdose deaths up 600% since 2015. The threat model changed completely, which is why the legalize versus prohibit binary is broken. Both sides are arguing about a 1990s drug supply. The real question is not what's on the law books. It's whether you treat addiction as a health problem or a crime problem. Every working country picked health. Chapter 4. The verdict. The answer the libertarians hate and the prohibitionists hate equally. Both are true. The drug prohibition model has failed catastrophically. That part is settled. And blanket legalization of fentanyl is not a serious policy. Stop forcing them into one answer. Different drugs need different rules. So stop asking, legalize or prohibit. Ask instead, does this policy reduce total harm to users, to communities, to public budgets? Because every functioning system has answered that, and none of them picked either extreme. 3 rules. 1. Decriminalize possession across the board. Jail makes addiction worse. 2. Calibrate supply by harm. Cannabis, regulated like alcohol. Hard drugs, medical track and treatment track. 3. Fund treatment at scale. The US spends 30 times more on jail than on treatment. Portugal does this. Switzerland does heroin-assisted treatment, and overdose deaths fell 90% for participants. Czech Republic, Netherlands. The model works wherever it's tried. The Anglosphere just won't copy it. The data has been settled for 20 years. What's one drug your country got right and one it got catastrophically wrong? Both. Specific. The pair is the picture. Subscribe. New question every week. Honest answers that nobody on either tribe will give you.